So for the sequel of the game, what do we do? I mean, the Hedgehog's already fast.
Why, that is easy. We make him faster. Sonic 1 was a major success, selling 15 million copies worldwide, and this was helped when Sega bundled their game with a brand new Sega Genesis console, replacing Altered Beast, the on-rails beat-em-up game where you transform into different monsters every stage. I find it quite strange that Sega actually predicted furries. So it comes to no surprise that Sonic the Hedgehog needed a sequel. However, the team split into two. Sega had this fancy add-on for the console, the Sega CD, and they wanted to make a Sonic game for the add-on. Unfortunately, Yuji Naka was dissatisfied with Japan's corporate way of working, as well as other issues, some of which involves the pay, and actually quit working for Sega before being convinced to work on Sonic 2, which was developed in the States. Developed under the branch Sega Technical Institute. That is a terrible name! The game was given a very strict deadline, 9 months, and they did it. Despite some cut content, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 hit the shelves in November 1992. The game was longer, faster, colourful, and introduced Sonic's new sidekick, a two-tailed fox named Miles Prower. But he was given the nickname Tails, and he became a series mainstay. So, a 9-month development cycle to make a hit game. Well, let's see if it's any good. Our story is set sometime after the previous. It is similar. Robotnik is at it again and trapping woodland critters in the robot, but he's aiming higher. He's pissing on the moon. He's built the Death Egg, an orbital super fortress to carry out his master plans for world domination. The game opens to a very similar feel to Sonic 1, but Tails joins Sonic in the ring. And the game feels very familiar until you hear the very first note of Zone 1, Emerald Hill. Emerald Hill looks very similar to Green Hill, but the music is more energetic. And I prefer this theme over its predecessor. It gives the sense of energy that the Sonic series is known for from this point out. Sonic has his usual movements from the last game, but with one new addition, the Spin Dash. Duck and mash the A button to rev up and blast off with a burst of speed. This was another addition that became permanent to a degree. Each zone is now split into 2 acts rather than 3, but the stages are longer and there are more to boot, which means that at the end of every second act, you're met with a boss. First one being the Egg Dozer, and this is a change I appreciate. One criticism I had in the previous game, that it was always the Eggmobile with maybe a little addition here and there. In this one, however, especially with the Egg Dozer, yes, the Eggmobile is there, but he actually combines with the Dozer. It's a very small thing, but it does look a lot different. It's still a very easy boss though. 8 hits as he tries to run you down at a very slow speed, and of course if you get 7 hits in, he will fire the drill at you. It's a very easy thing to dodge. Tails can also damage him, allowing for a quicker defeat on the boss. The second stage has become one of the most well-known levels in Sonic history that isn't Green Hill. Chemical Plant. Fantastic music, high energy, and the introduction of boost pads that allowed you to boost at top speeds at a moment's notice. Act 2 also has a water section that only lasts a small moment, but beginners may drown in. Aquatic Ruin Zone is this game's water level, but unlike Labyrinth, this one is fun. There are more areas to take advantage of speed, and I even hear you can complete the zone without even touching the water. I've never managed to do this, but the boss can be cheesed in a great way. The hammer hits these totems which fires an arrow. The arrow can then be climbed on and then hit Robotnik's mech. But Casino Night, the reason why so many kids have developed crippling gambling habits. That's right, slots are still profitable because of a fast blue hedgehog. And pinball. Hilltop is actually a volcano with various earthquakes, and volcanologists are just choosing to ignore the fact. This is also the home to the Loch Ness Monster.
I need about 350.
Mystic Cave is actually my favourite zone, but I never fully knew why. Maybe it's the spooky vibe. It's a dark cave with some really catchy spooky-esque music. Maybe it's that. It's home to the infamous pit, a spike pit which is impossible to escape from and very easy to fall into. Oil Ocean is what I believe is Robotnik's oil refinery to power his non-animal powered mechs. This level, I always forget it exists for some unknown reason, which is odd because I always remember its existence in Mania. The oil is not lethal if you keep jumping, and there's normally a way back to solid platforming. You have to deal with platforms that pop upwards at intervals and cannons. Metropolis Zone. I don't know where to begin, but some sociopath designed this and a psychopath approved this. Now, if it was just a level design and maybe some buzz bombers and motobugs, I'd be fine. But let me introduce you to the
unholy trinity of suffering.
Asterons are these starfish-like things that when they get a lock on you, they will travel towards your location and explode where its spikes on all of its tips will fire out, meaning 5 projectiles will be firing. It's not the worst thing here, far from it, but they love to put tons of these in corridors and shafts that'll have you run on a nut to traverse up and down. They don't always activate in these, but it makes me sweat when I see them. Crab hammers, oh, these things love to extend their claw to hit you, which wouldn't be a problem, but they normally put them in a path where the ceiling is so low, meaning you can't dodge them or jump, but nothing, and I mean nothing, will prepare you for the dreaded slicers. These demons are just waiting for you, so they can kick you in the nuts and then mug you for your phone so you can't call the emergency services. And the blades will fire where it's normally too late to dodge because either you're running too fast into them or you're climbing up, once again, a shaft. Oh, but what makes this stage worse? 3 acts of this, not 2, 3! I thought Labyrinth Zone's 4 acts were bad in Sonic 1, but I would gladly take that over this 3-act city of pain and misery. At least the boss isn't too bad. I've had worse in my lifetime. Just hit him in his balloons and then he has a laser beam as desperation attack. It's nothing difficult. The next 2 zones are basically 1 act each. Sky Chase has Tails flying Sonic's biplane, the Tornado, chasing after Robotnik's giant airship. The controls are exactly the same as the rest of the game, only the Tornado moves with you since Sonic refuses to take a seat and instead stands on the plane's wings. It's an auto-scroller with enemies coming towards you. After is Sky Fortress. The Tornado is shot down, but you land on the airship. You have to navigate your way through to reach, I want to say, the control room where Robotnik is. But there's a little trick to this. There are some propellers at this point in the level that block your path, but if you have some rings or even a shield, you can get hit then walk through them using your iframes, allowing you to skip half of the level. Reaching Robotnik has you destroy a laser, but you have to stand on these spiked platforms and attack the laser when it powers up. It's a lot harder than it sounds, as the bottom of the platforms can hurt you as well, and there are 3 of them constantly floating around the arena. Destroying the laser takes you to Robotnik's ship, which is taking off. Tails returns with a new thruster on the Tornado to help you catch up with the ship. This takes you to the Death Egg, the final stage. It consists of only 2 bosses, but they must be done back to back with 0 rings. First one is cool. Metal Sonic. Now, I am not from 1992, I was born 3 years later, but I can guess that fans of the games who saw this for the first time were like,
Oh my god!
As this appeared. And since it appears in other games, I've always seen this as a Metal Sonic Mark 1. It's bulky and not painted, seems very heavy, like a prototype of what's to come. It can dash, roll, jump from left to right, and its spikes can spin like a saw blade. Destroying this then leads you to the Egg Robo, the first of many mechs that the Doctor begins using. This thing will take a few steps forward, then it would fly up into the air. It locks onto you and then smashes down. And then it uses one of two attacks depending on where you are. If you are in front of it, it uses Spike's arm and fire at you twice. If you are behind it, however, it will use the bombs. I've never had my back to it. Afterwards, it will launch once again, lock on, smash down, and the cycle restarts. And unlike all previous bosses that required 8 hits to beat, this one needs 12. Destroying this boss doesn't just cause the mech to explode, but also the entire Death Egg. Sonic falls back to the planet and is saved by Tails. The credits roll, but this is the bad ending because I didn't collect the emeralds, now being 7 than the previous 6, and I could not get them. In the original ports, I could never get the emeralds. I could get maybe 1 or 2, but not all of them. You see, you need 50 rings to get into the star posts. That's how you access the special stage. You enter a 3D special stage, which was the birth of the beloved half-pipe, beloved to Sega, and I guess this looked revolutionary by 1992 standards. The goal is to get a set amount of rings 3 separate times. If you play with Tails, a second player can take control of him to help him get the rings. Each time you pass the gates, you get either a thumbs up or a thumbs down depending on if you pass or fail. Thing is, I think this is supposed to be Sonic's hand, but the glove has a red, like, it's... oh no. Demon Sonic's just set me right. Each special stage does get harder. It increases the ring count every single time, and it also adds bombs which, if collided with, you lose rings. Now the reason I could never get them comes to one thing: Tails. When playing by yourself, Tails is controlled by the AI, and he can collect rings that you miss. He mimics your movements on a delay. Something like a second delay. Some people online have said it's half a second. Thing is, this delay does become an issue from Special Stage 2 onwards, when they introduce the bombs. The delay will force you to jump early so Tails can dodge the bombs too. And due to his delay in the originals, I could never get the timing down. And this is when I decided to jump to Origins. I do want to save the entire collection as another review, but I'm going to break that rule just this once for the special stage in Sonic 2 alone. The version of Sonic 2 here is the now removed 2013 rebuild from Christian Whitehead, who also made the rebuilds of Sonic 1 and CD, as well as being the director and developer of Sonic Mania. I can get all the emeralds in this version. The delay for Tails is much shorter, meaning that the bombs he hits are now more my fault than the game. The frame rate is much smoother, running at a silky smooth 60 FPS, which helped me line up to grab a few rings, and the graphical quality is much cleaner as well. I want to make it clear, I am in no way attacking the original. Yes, the frame rate is a bit lower, and the graphics aren't as crisp, but this was 1992 we're talking about. The rebuild is more for modern days, but this was revolutionary back in the day. Grabbing all 7 doesn't just unlock the good ending. You get access to Super Sonic. In the original port of Sonic 2, all you need to do was grab at least 50 rings, jump, and you transform into Super Sonic. The form that had Dragon Ball Z fans and Sonic fans at war for decades. In this form, Sonic is invincible to all enemy attacks, is insanely quick, and jumps higher. However, he can still drown and get crushed, as well as falling down bottomless pits, but he can make mincemeat of bosses. The trade-off is that your rings deplete every second until they hit 0, but you can collect rings to extend the timer. This is what makes the emeralds worth it. Where the story is still stop the bad guy, having a militarized space station does up the ante, and I do put that up the original, for it seems the stakes are much higher. The game is a lot more colourful and the music is a lot more energetic, a huge step up from the original. The bosses also look a lot more creative in taking different forms from level to level. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Something that they followed, but they added to Sonic's moveset, such as the spin dash. which is satisfying to use if you need a quick burst of speed. Each act is bigger than the previous game, and the stages cater to Sonic's speed a lot better than the predecessor. The special stages using 3D is definitely revolutionary for the time, and despite my lack of skill, the reward for achieving all 7 emeralds and getting Supersonic is completely worth it. Sonic 2 was one of the best games on the Genesis. It became a must-have because they did not fix that wasn't broken. Instead, they added to the formula, and this cemented it as the perfect rival against Nintendo's Mario. But there was one other game in development at the time, and it was not made in the States, but it was made back in Japan. And this was for another game that is actually also debated to be the best Sonic game. So next time, I will be looking at Sonic CD for the Sega CD. Hey guys, before I go, I want to make one final note. One of my close friends, Existence, has a channel here on YouTube. I'll put his link in the description below, as well as the end card. And he is making, I'm not wanting to say what it is, I'll leave that to him, one of his longest videos to date. He does a bunch of video essays on any topic he wants to talk about, and this video he is hoping to be a big one. And he's been keeping me updated on it, so please support him. His channel again, description, end card. And with that being said, I will catch you all next time. See you later.
Notice how I get quiet when there's no